Hello, everybody. Welcome to Subtle Asian Book Club. We are a book club dedicated to amplifying Asian authors, and I'm Alexandra, also known as Scrolling Pages, and I'm here with my co-host Tiffany, also known by Rebate Tiffany, and we're super excited to have the author of our June. Sorry, it is July right now. Our June book of the month, Ann Liang, who's the author of This Time It's Real. So Anne, can you please introduce yourself and your books? And as a quick icebreaker, what was your favorite book so far this year?
Hi, I'm Anne, and I'm the author of If You Could See the Sun and This Time It's Real, which is basically about like a writer who has to fake date the famous C-drama actor in her class after her essay about falling in love goes viral. And I was born in Beijing. And I've just been like moving around between like Beijing and Australia. So like I'm in Australia now, but This Time It's Real is like set in my hometown, Beijing. And favorite book, I have to say, there's so many. Like I've been having such a good reading year. A recent one was Yellowface, which like I don't think, it needs no introduction. It was like mind-boggling. Like it was so good. And also, I feel like it's like really interesting when you're reading it as an author. Like I was like definitely like wincing at like all the right parts. But like I cannot stop thinking about it. I like talking to people about it. Like it's so good.
Yay! Thank you for sharing.
We love that book too. Okay, so we're so excited to have you here to talk about This Time It's Real. I'm sure you can tell based off of how many posts we've tagged you in. We're so sorry for your notifications, but obviously we loved your book. Could you share with us what inspired you to write this book and how maybe the idea evolved over time?
Yeah, I think so. I've always loved C-dramas. Like I feel like I grew up watching them, and I always kind of wanted to write a book that like gave the same vibes as a C-drama. So obviously like a lot of dramas like they're set in like Shanghai or Beijing. So I was like, I like that could be the setting, and then like it's kind of meta, but then like the love interest is a C-drama actor himself, and I was really interested in exploring that world, especially because like I did this internship for China Film Insider in uni. So like I was basically just writing these articles every day, and it was like I would just be like watching like variety shows with like actors, and I would be like I would be going on like Weibo, and I would be like reading through the comments of what people were like saying about like the latest scandal, and I would be like translating and like compiling it. So I was like, wow, like this is like really juicy material, like it would make for like a great book. And then I was also really interested in like, I mean, I don't even know where this idea came from, but I was interested in this idea of like a girl who writes about something that is like it's not actually personal, but like it's so convincing that like everyone kind of believes it, which is how I kind of ended up with like, oh, so like she writes this essay where like she's like in love with someone, but like she's not actually, but everyone just like buys it. And I feel like I don't know, maybe that came from like, cause like I know in high school, like sometimes I would like exaggerate a lot in my personal essays. Like it wasn't ever like a complete lie, but I feel like it's like the creative writer in me. I was like, does this have like enough like narrative tension? And if not, like, can I just like add a detail that like maybe didn't happen? And like I don't do that anymore, like I promise. But it was like, and then the teachers would be like, wow, like that's so fascinating, and like my friends would be like, oh my god, like I can't believe this happened to you, and I was like, yeah, sure. So it's like what if we really like raised the stakes and then made it so that like it wasn't just her classmates, it was like the whole world was like so invested in like this made up story. And then I feel like so you have all these different like moving pieces, like you have like the C-drama actor, you have like the Beijing setting, you have like this essay, and then it kind of all just like fit together from there and developed into the book that it is today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's so interesting. I like loved so many like elements of this book, and so like as you're explaining your thought process, I'm like, wow, that's so amazing because it's all like a beautiful puzzle or sandwich or whatever that is the book. So speaking of C-dramas, it's like so cool that you did your internship. And while it may or may not be true that you have fake dated a C-drama star in the past, how much of this book was inspired by your personal experience? You mentioned earlier in your intro that you like moved a lot growing up, and was that like what inspired like shaping Eliza's character, since she also like moved a lot growing up?
Yeah, I think like, well, with every character, you kind of have to think about like something that they struggle with, or, you know, like they all have like their arc that they need to overcome. So like I figured something that, you know, like that she really struggled with would be like the moving around, because yeah, like I think I went to like maybe like 7 different schools like growing up.
Wow.
Yeah, like when I was a teenager. And then there was obviously also like the culture shock, because like you can imagine, like I was like in like a local kind of like kindergarten primary school in China, and then it was like a primary school here like in Australia, and then it'll be back to like, you know, like an international school in Beijing. Like it's all just like completely different vibes. And then so like each time you kind of have to like almost like you really have to like adjust and like reinvent yourself in a way like based off of like who like your friends and like the kind of just like the school culture, right? So I feel like that's really hard, especially I think when you're a teenager, and you know, because that's like a time when your identity is like still kind of like developing, like you're just trying to like figure out like what you like, and like, you know, like what person you want to be, and things like that. So yeah, that was like something that I feel like it was easy for me to like write about like those struggles, because obviously like it paralleled like what I knew. And even though I feel like I've like come to kind of like a zen place, like I guess I had like my own character arc where I'm like you know, cool with it. But like I would just like remember how we would have like these classes at my international school, and because everyone around me, like all my friends, like they were in similar positions. I think I was actually like my life was actually considered pretty stable compared to theirs, because like I knew people who like they would go to like I don't know like 10 different schools or something, and just be like moving every single year. And so when the teacher asked us like, oh, you know, like what's something that, it was like kind of random. The class, like the teacher was just like, what's something that makes you sad? Like I actually don't know where she was going with that. Like we would sit around in a circle, and she's like, what makes you sad? And we was like moving around, and everyone was like, yeah, like relatable. So I guess, you know, if anyone's like been in like a similar position, like hopefully that, you know, they feel like they're not like alone in their experiences, like somewhere out there, like there's a whole circle of international school students like all nodding along when someone's like thought about moving. Yeah.
That teacher really said free therapy.
Literally.
Therapy session. I don't know what was going on.
But it's really nice that you had this like community of other people who went through something similar. And for me, because both Alexandra like moved schools like at one point, but I stayed in like LA, grew up in LA, like same people from like elementary school to middle school to high school. It was very boring, but it's really nice to like dive into your book and like have this whole other world to experience.
Yeah. Oh my god, that must be so nice. Like growing up like with like a cohort, I feel like that's like such a good experience as well.
It's got its pros and cons. I will say, I feel like the people watch. I feel like most people I know who've like read this book, they're like, "Oh my god, this is so cool! I want to experience this." Why, like U.S. public like high school is so boring.
No, for real. And also, I feel like if you're like growing up with like the same group of people, if you like ever at some point, like let's say like you have like drama with someone in like second grade, that sticks with you all the way to like.
I know, that is so true. Like I felt so free like in the final like semester when I knew I would be coming back to Australia, and I was just like, it doesn't matter, like whatever I say, like it's okay.
Also, you can pull off like, oh, I'm the mysterious cool girl. Like I just moved from like Australia, or I just moved like from Beijing. I'm so cool.
people like thought that I was like mysterious like when I came here, I guess, because like no one could figure out like where my accent was from, and everyone was just like, oh, like she just like, and I was like the one of like the only like new kids like at my school in Australia. So yeah, I could pretend to be mysterious for at least like a few weeks.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna deviate because I'm sure like I'm very curious and so other people are curious. I just want to get the question out of the way of like what are some of your favorite C-dramas?
Oh my gosh, girl.
I just want to get that out there. Like I need to know. I can't wait 50 minutes.
Okay. I think what's something okay, so like recently, like I've been like seeing this like on my like FYP, like you know, like the edits and everything. And like I mean I haven't like finished it or anything, but it's really cute. When I fly towards you, like I don't know if you've heard of it. It's like because I think it only started like it came out I think maybe like a month ago or something, and it only recently finished airing. But it's very like cute like campus drama, you know, and it's like kind of like the low stakes, and it's kind of just like I would say like it's like slow burn, and it's really like that like feeling of like falling in love for the first time, and just like the whole like atmosphere and everything. Yeah, like it's really cute. And then what was something else? Recently, I was watching Till the End of the Moon, which is kind of like on the opposite end of the spectrum. It's like this very like it's like a ciencia, so it's like kind of like fantasy costume drama. And it's like Loinsi and Bailu as like the main leads. And like they're also the leads in this other drama that I watched before, which is I think it's called Love is Sweet. That's like I think that's like the English translated name. And that one is like a modern C drama, and it follows them when it's kind of like childhood frenemies to lovers, like when they like reunite like many years later, and like they're like kind of like working at the same company, and it's also like it's really cute. So yeah, like three like very different types of dramas, but they're all really good. And there's another one that's like because it's like you know like the actor and writer dynamic, and like this time it's real, so if like you're into that, there's also like the Romance of Tiger and Rose, which is like it's got like Zhao Lusi as like the protagonist, and it's also just like it's like really like quirky, and it's like technically set in like kind of like ancient China, but it has like this like rom-com feel. Like it does not take itself seriously at all. Like it's just like yeah, it's like really like light and like funny and sweet. So yeah, those are my. I could like go on forever, but I'm just gonna keep it to that.
Yes, no, we love it. I was like, I'm gonna take all these notes down. Okay, anyway, sorry for that deviation. Back to the previously scheduled programming. As an author yourself, how has your writing shaped your own personal growth, similar to Eliza's journey? Could you share with us how maybe like the act of writing influenced like how you've grown as a person? Were you able to find like stability in writing in the same way that Eliza was?
I think like definitely because like writing is so inherently vulnerable, you know, like you're really like putting yourself out there. And so I feel like that's taught me to maybe be like, I don't know, like tougher or braver, or like more willing to like have that kind of vulnerability. Like especially because like I remember yeah, when I was like a teenager, and like I would get so scared when I was just like writing like an essay, just like a plain like English essay for my teacher to read. Like they would be like going through it, and I would just be standing beside them like shaking, like praying that like they weren't going to like be like no, like this is bad, or like this sentence is wrong. Like if they were like oh like it's a bit repetitive here, I would have been like oh my god, like you know like it's trash, I need to like restart it. But I feel like you know like now like as I write more, and then as I go through publishing, I definitely feel like I'm like maybe a bit better about like just you know putting that work out there, and then just like letting people you know have their own like takes on it, like just letting people like read it. Like I honestly like don't even mind that much now. Like if someone like reads it, I'm like oh my god, like that's amazing. Like if someone doesn't read it, I'm like okay, that's like cool too. So yeah, I think like it's helped me both like develop thicker skin, and also like be just like more open and like receptive. Because yeah, like literally I feel like if my like 16-year-old self was like publishing books, and like I was like getting any feedback at all, like I would just cry. But now I'm like, it's like it's all cool. Like I'm good. So yeah, I think that's probably like the main thing. And like another thing would also just be that, you know, like in writing, I feel like when figuring out like the kind of books that I wanted to write, like it's helped me like lean into things that are like joyful and like romantic. And I feel like as a person, honestly, like when I first decided to like write rom-coms, like it was just so not what people who know me in real life were expecting. Like they thought that I would write like a nonfiction book on taxes. Like that's like that was like, I've actually had people say that. They're like, you're gonna write like such a good book, but it's about like financial like policies. And I'm like, oh thanks. So like this was like really like, yeah, it was like a really big shock for everyone. Like some people thought I was joking, and I was like, no, like I actually like I enjoy writing these stories. So like it's helped me like as a person. I'm like, okay, you know, like this is like what I like. Like I'm going to like do things that just like make me happy. Like I'm gonna listen to like my Taylor Swift songs. I'm gonna write my rom-coms. Like yeah. So I'm like really happy to have like arrived at this place like through my writing.
Sorry, that was like not like a coherent response. That was just a scream. But I'm just like so happy for you. I like love like listening to like your like whole journey and like your growth, and now you're here and you're a published author with 2 novels that are not about taxes.
Yes, it's a win for everyone.
For real. Wait, I'm so curious. Like, when did you like? I'm sure like your like teenage self was never like, I'm gonna write a nonfiction book about taxes. But like kind of like when did you kind of like develop like your story, and like how long did like If You Could See the Sun, like
I
that was
think
not the question, but
yeah, no, I totally get you, because I feel like so I wanted to be a writer like when I was pretty young. Like so like I was writing stories for fun when I was like 12, 13, 14. And then like things got really busy like with like my studies and everything when I entered high school. So I kind of just like set that aside for like a little bit. But then I got into uni, and I was like, you know, like I want to actually like give this a shot. Like I want to see if I can actually like get something published. And then actually like my first instinct originally was to like write fantasy. And then I quickly kind of like was like, no. Like I think I one day I just had this like epiphany, I guess, that I was like, no, like as like a teenager, like I read a lot of like contemporary books myself, and I was like, maybe like I should actually like give contemporary like a real try. So and also like this was in early 2020, so it was like when the pandemic had like just started and everything was kind of like up in the air. And I was literally like I was like on exchange in like California, and I was like just literally like trapped in my dorm room. And so I was like, you know, like I might as well like I just, you know, I can write this book and just like see where it goes. So like yeah, that's basically I was like, and when I started writing, like as soon as I actually like started writing the book, I was like, oh, like writing contemporary is like really fun, like, you know, like maybe I should keep doing this. And then that led to like This Time It's Real.
Wow. Look at some people spending their pandemic days like baking bread, and then Anne just goes out here and writes a book.
No. Seriously.
So like I admire people who can actually bake bread though. Like,
yeah, you're out here becoming a published author. Meanwhile, I had like 400 hours on Animal Crossing. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
It's okay. You have a 5-star island. It's fine.
Okay. That's all that matters. Well, I was just gonna ask like how you transitioned from like If You Could See the Sun into This Time It's Real, but I guess you kind of already answered that. So my follow-up for that would be like, I don't know, like I guess like how did you like approach writing it differently? Like did you find it like more intuitive, like in a way? Like was it similar to like Eliza? Because like there's like a moment in this book where she like writes something like for the like
like her
not
internship.
internship, like for her job that she's like doing, and then like the editor or person is kind of like, oh, like it doesn't like feel like as intuitive as like you think. So do you think that This Time Is Real is like kind of like a little bit more intuitive?
I think so. I wrote This Time It's Real, I believe it was like around the time that we had like just started going out with If You Could See the Sun on submission. So it was like before If You Could See the Sun sold. And like looking back, I feel like that almost took the pressure off in a way, because like I'm sure you've heard like a lot of authors like talk about like the pressure of like that second book, like especially like a second book where you're like, you know, you want to deliver something that's like kind of similar to what you already have, but then you also want to make it like distinct, like, and like, you know, and you've got like deadlines and things. But so I was kind of like getting feedback from editors on If You Could See the Sun while I was drafting This Time It's Real. And so some of that feedback was like, they were like, oh, we don't really know like how to like market it, because like If You Could See the Sun is technically like genre bending, right? And but then yeah, like some people were like, well, it's like too many genres at once, like choose a genre. Like we can't have just like a bit of like magic thrown in to this like contemporary world. But I was also getting like really nice feedback that like people like the romance between like Alice and Henry. And so so I was like, oh, okay, like, you know, so maybe this is something that like I could actually like explore more. Like I could like write contemporary, like I can choose my genre, like I can write like a rom-com and then like, you know, and I can just like have fun with like the romance as like the main plot instead of like a subplot. So that was the main thing. I feel like the challenge was that for If You Could See the Sun, because like you have like the invisibility element, and then you kind of have like the app, right? So like they're going on missions, and like when I was like outlining that, like that was kind of like, it was like pretty straightforward, because you just have like one task after another, and then each task is kind of like you raise the stakes a little bit each time. But then like when you have like a rom-com, like you don't have like that element or like that shape to like follow. So then it was like, how do you like raise the stakes in different ways, and like how do you like chart like their like relationship, because like that becomes like the plot line, right? Like, you know, like the changes in their relationship and like their feelings and their like personal growth. So like in a way that was like less clear compared to just being like, oh, like, you know, like Beijing Ghost missions. So yeah, that was like what I found different. But like generally for like all my books so far that like I've written, I follow the same kind of like process, like in terms of like, you know, like writing the outline, and then like how I go about like the first draft, like that's all stayed the same. So like it's nice to like have that routine as like the foundation, and then I can just like, you know, like I can approach like the story itself differently, but how I actually write it is kind of like the same. If that makes sense.
Love the little insights into like your writing process. Okay. We're going to switch a little bit more into plot and characters. And so we're super curious to know, what was your favorite scene to write and why? And I'm sure like I've heard for a lot of authors, like they write a lot more than is actually included in the books, or if there are any deleted scenes you wish could have made it in but didn't, we would love a sneak peek.
I think I had a lot of fun writing the scene where like Eliza goes to visit Kaz on set, because I feel like, you know, like if you're dating an actor, like that's just like you need to have that experience. Like what is the point of dating an actor if like they're not going to show you around and like give you spoilers like ahead of the show airing and like things like that, right? So that was like super fun for me, and also because like at the time, because part of me had always wanted to write something that's kind of like a historical C-drama, like instead of just like a modern one. And then back then I was like, okay, like I might like only be writing like contemporaries. I was like, how do I kind of like sneak in like the historical C-drama vibes in like a contemporary setting? So like getting him to like act like that role, that was just like my like sneaky little thing. And also, oh, like the scene where like Kaz is like sick and she
Girl, I am not exaggerating when I say I've like reread that scene like at least 5 times. Okay.
I like that because like that trope is like so good. Like I honestly like I will like eat it up like in any book, like in any drama. It's just like, you know, like when he's all like weak and vulnerable and she's just like there for him.
Oh,
So good.
my heart. I'm like,
Oh.
And I think like, well, in terms of deleted scenes, I actually did like release like one of the deleted scenes like when like It's Real came out. So like that's just like lying around on my website if anyone wants to like see it. And I think yeah, like we cut out like a few things for like pacing and things like that. There was like originally more fluff in This Time It's Real. I know. I was like kind of sad. I was like, oh my god. My editor was like, you know, there was like we can't just have like fluff and like we need to like
that's you.
Just help. The audience wants more fluff.
So like I think yeah, like there were like other scenes. I mean, but then there was just like some like pretty like random scenes, and it was kind of just of like them like in PE class or something, like a speaker comes and like they have to like act something out. And then like Kaz and Eliza like they get chosen and like they're kind of like reenacting something and like the whole class is like watching like things like that where it's like, you know, like it's just like fun to write. But I was like, I guess this doesn't really change the plot in any way. So I'll just like remove it for now. But yeah, and then in like the kind of like the deleted scene that I released, that was technically like re-edited because originally it was like Kaz's birthday and like I had it so like it was just like the two of them together like
I love that scene. I like momentarily forgot about it until you just brought it up again. I'm like
so yeah, and then but then like during like the editing process we were like, oh, like, you know, maybe we should have like a bit more like drama, like tension. So then like in the final, you know, like she's like heading down like with his friends and stuff, and it's also nice like she gets to like know them a bit better. But yeah, like in my head, like they're like the two like alternate version, like yeah. So
this
I'm
book
like
is so
recovering.
good.
I just like relive my favorite scenes all over again.
When she like makes him the cake.
Oh.
yeah, which is like really bad at baking, but it's like the thought that counts.
No, it's so cute. Oh my gosh.
It's so cute. Ugh. Okay, so as you can tell, we obviously like love Eliza and Kaz, but can you tell us more about creating the relationship dynamics between all the characters? So we also love like Eliza and Zoe's friendship, and then Eliza and her sister's relationship. So yeah.
I think like with Eliza and Zoe, like it was really important for me to also have kind of like that friendship like arc or like that kind of like subplot throughout it, because I feel like we most of us, or you know, like some of us, like we're not all going to meet like the love of our lives in high school. But like realistically, I think it's like way more common that like you would have like a best friend in high school, or like you would have some kind of like friendship drama, or you know, like you'll fall in and out of touch with someone. I think like, you know, especially when you're a teenager, I feel like your like friendship group, like who you're friends with, like who likes you, like things like that, like that's so important. It kind of like, you know, it's like part of your personality almost. And so I really wanted to like create that friendship where like they're like kind of, obviously there are tensions because it's like long distance, and so like there are like a lot of like challenges that come with that, and then, you know, like wondering if like they care about you like as much as like you care about them. And like I know like obviously, you know, you would have those concerns in like romantic relationship, but I feel like you totally have that in like just like a friendship as well, right? So yeah, I really like I wanted to bring that out. And I know like a lot of people were scared that like Zoe was going to turn out to be like not nice. Just saying that. Yeah, and like I mean, honestly, I like there was a period of time when I was kind of like this could go two ways. Like I could make it so that like maybe like they just stop talking and she just comes to terms with that. But then I was like, like I want this to like end like on a hopeful note that like I mean, and I think it's like still like realistic enough because like in real life like you do like there are people that like come back into your life, right? So I feel like yeah, like that's just like what it ended up going with, and I feel like it kind of like it suited Eliza's arc of like being able to like be honest about like how she feels and then like getting like rewarded for that. So yeah, that was like Zoe, and then I also really had so much fun with like the sibling dynamic. I have like a little sister, and she claims that like that like the sister is like based off of her, and I'm like, no, like it doesn't, like these characters don't like revolve around you, like you can't just think that. But like I guess like I will admit like it did help to like have my own younger sister, and to be able to like kind of hopefully like realistically like portray that dynamic where like they're kind of like they're bickering a little bit, but like they really like they look out for each other. And it's also so important because because like they're moving around so much, they have each other, like that's kind of like also like that constant like the source of stability. And I really love like like the just like the family scenes where they're kind of just like chilling and like watching TV together, like very like like warm like quiet moments like that. I was like, I don't care if like this technically doesn't like do anything for the plot, like I just like I really wanted to make sure like that stayed in the book. So yeah.
No, I love all of those. Also, like the friendship with Zoe, I think when we get to the part where Eliza kind of like apologizes essentially to Zoe and like is like talking to her more seriously, it's a very realistic depiction of sometimes like the harder conversations you might have with friends where you like are trying to like I'm thinking, sorry, it's like me and Zan's like whenever we're like, sorry, I was wrong.
No, it was too real. It was a bit too real.
Yeah, like necessary sometimes,
Yeah, it just felt so realistic, and especially like you're like, oh, I don't care if like the little moments with family don't matter to the plot. They matter so much, and it's very important to be depicted.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So talking a little bit about like family more and their parents. So Eliza and Kaz's parents both have very traditional views of success. Like Kaz's mom is really harping on him about college. Eliza's mom is a very successful businesswoman. Kaz's parents are doctors. So their perspective is very different from the career path that Eliza and Kaz pursue. So why was it important for you to show this contrast, and what was your thought process going into it?
I think, I mean, obviously, because like I have chosen to enter like a not super stable creative field that like again a lot of people really did think I was going to like go into like med or law, like that really looked like the trajectory of my life, and I kind of made this like last minute decision like not to do that. And so, I want people who like, especially, if you're like a teenager and you're trying to like figure out your like career plans and like you're not sure if you should like go for, like one of these like more like unstable jobs that you're like, but you're really passionate about it, to hopefully to feel seen and to feel like encouraged that like yes, like there are going to be challenges and it might not be like what is expected of you, but like you can like it's still worth pursuing. And I also wanted to make sure that like even though there's such like a contrast between like being like a writer or actor and like these like more like secure jobs of like being like a doctor or like a businesswoman, that like I mean like Kaz's like mom, for example, is like she's like concerned, but she's not like no, like I'm going to like own you because you're an actor, like don't talk to me until you become like a lawyer like something like that. And I feel like I mean obviously like those extreme examples like do like exist, but I feel like talking to like other authors or like other people who've like become like artists or like dancers or like actresses, like usually I think like parents, they tend to be more like, they will have their concerns. Like I feel like it's really hard for like, you know, someone to like not be concerned if the child is like, oh, like I like maybe, you know, I just want to like spend the rest of my life like writing or like acting. Honestly, like as someone who is like in the publishing industry, like if my child was like want to be an author, I'm like, are you sure? Like, let's like talk this through for a bit. Like, do you really know what you're getting into? So I feel like sometimes like those concerns are like they're valid, or like they do genuinely come from a place of like love. But then, you know, but like they're not like exactly like restricting or like deliberate, like actively like stopping their children from doing that. It's kind of like, you know, like it's kind of my responsibility to like tell you this, so like, you know, like the challenges that like await you. And so yeah, I wanted people who like experience those similar struggles or like doubts about like their career path to just be able to see that like reflected in the book.
I feel like it was like represented so well, and what you just said was like so well said, because I feel like I know a lot of people who decided to choose like artistic career paths, and a lot of times like when they talk about their parents, it is very much like they are supportive but concerned. And I feel like the stereotype for Asians specifically is like, oh, like the tiger parent and like the tiger mom who's like super like hardcore and like very like, oh, you have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or like some business person like making a lot of money. But then like oftentimes in reality, from like my personal experience, I feel like that's not the case. So I really appreciated that representation, and I felt like it was done so well.
I'm glad.
Okay, so you talked a little bit earlier about like your personal experience going to international school, but you also talked about how like you went to like like schools within like a regular like public Chinese school, like a regular like a public Australian school. Can you share why you chose to set the story specifically at an international school instead of having it just like at a public school, even though, yeah, you mentioned earlier that you wanted that representation too?
Yeah, I feel like, so there were a few kind of just like practical like considerations that went into it, because, you know, I knew that like Kaz, like he would be like an actor. And then I feel like for someone like from his background, like it's just more likely that he would be sent to like an international school. And also, you know, like at international schools, like it's not that rare to either like, you know, you might see like celebrities or like the children of celebrities, like, you know, they come from like these like very like special like backgrounds. So that was like one thing. And also because like I had the backstory for like Eliza developed, and because like I knew that she was like moving around a lot. And again, like just like logistically, if you don't have like, if you have like citizenship like from somewhere else, it's actually kind of hard for you. Like it's very complicated to get into like a local school, because you are technically like, you're like, you know, like a foreigner. So that's why like, you know, these international schools exist. So, you know, just like in terms of like legislation, it makes sense for them to go to an international school. But also, obviously, like I guess it was a very natural progression, because the sun was set at like a Beijing international school, right? So I guess it's more relevant of like why I decided to set If You Could See the Sun at an international school. Because before, like I wouldn't really have considered it. And I don't think like I personally realized that like that environment, like the international school environment in Beijing, like specifically, was like really like interesting or like different, until like I came to Australia, and like I was just like telling people like, you know, like randomly just about like some of the things that happened, and everyone would just be like shocked, like, oh my god, like, you know, I can't believe like like that's how things are. And then I remember like I was like at brunch with like my friends, and I was kind of just like throwing around ideas, and I think like one of them was like, oh, like, it'd be really cool, like, if you wrote a book that was like set like at an international school. Like, I would love that. And I was like, oh, like, I didn't realize that, people would even be like interested, that was like something that there would be a demand for. And I think also, like, at the time, like, it was when we were getting like a lot more books, like, we had like these Violent Delights, and then, like, in more recent times we have like Portrait of a Thief, like these books that are like set like in China, and so I actually felt like, oh, like, maybe this is like possible, like I could actually like write a book like set here. And so I did that for If You Could See the Sun. And then I just like had so much fun like writing the setting, and it was in a way like revisiting like my own like high school memories. And like, so when I finished writing If You Could See the Sun, I was like, I feel like there's like still more that I want to say, or like there are more like details that like I wanted to pick that I didn't really get a chance to. So I was like, I want to keep doing this. So This Time It's Real was born, and it was also set at an international school. So yeah, that was basically like the process.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's so much fun. Okay, we're gonna jump into some like fun questions that don't really like serve the plot per se, but it's just gonna be a fun time. So this one, Xandra was like adamant about asking. It's that she's super into personality tests, and we were like wondering what is Eliza and Kaz's like MBTI or astrology signs, if you like had planned that out.
My sister is like really into like personality types too. So like I like, she's literally like obsessed. I know a bit more about that than with like the like astrology. I'm like really ashamed to say that like I know almost nothing about that. So when people are like, ooh, like she's such like I don't even know, like a Scorpio, like I'm just like, that means nothing to me. Like I don't know what that says about her personality at all. So I'm really sorry. Like whatever you think is like, I just feel like, I trust you. I'm gonna go with like your opinion on that. In terms of personality though, I feel like Eliza might be like maybe like an INFJ. I feel like a lot of writers FJs. With Kaz, it would definitely be like an E, like an E and something. Like I can't. I don't know enough to like say. Maybe I should do like a personality quiz, but like on Kaz's behalf to like find out based on what I feel like he'd answer. But yeah, definitely an E though. Like it's very much like the extrovert dynamic.
Yes.
I could see that. I also can see Eliza as an INFJ. That tracks. That tracks.
Yeah.
Did you wait, Tiffany? Are you gonna ask all the fun questions?
Oh, I thought we're alternating.
Okay. I can ask this. Sorry, I was like, no.
Sorry.
Okay. This one's a little bit hard, sort of. But what is a book that you would recommend to everyone?
A book that I recommend to everyone? Oh my god. Wait, I have to give this like really serious thought because there's so many to choose from. As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow is like, it's so, yeah. I've literally been recommending it to every single person I know. I'm like, I don't care what you usually read. Like just read it. Like it's so good. Like it's like a classic. So
yes. So good.
I think she was the one who also recommended If You Could See the Sun during.
Wait, really?
I'm pretty sure.
I so cute.
No, I think she sent me like a video. She sent me like a link to like the interview. So I was actually watching the interview with her. I was like, it's so cute. But yeah, no, it's like so cool when you get to be like friends with like your favorite authors, because I'm just literally like gushing directly to her. Yeah, it's just
so cute. Things are coming full circle. Okay.
Yeah.
Also a difficult question. What is like a favorite Asian food or favorite food in general? I know the Asian food one can be like difficult, so you can give us like a top 3 or.
I think, okay, I really like, if it's like a dish, I feel like sweet and sour pork ribs, like Like they can be really good, but I feel like it can be hit or miss depending on like which restaurant you're going to. Cause like sometimes, you know, like the sweet and sour, like there's just like a fine line and you don't want to go in either direction. And what else? Like in terms of, I feel like snacks, when I was like a kid, I really love like, do you know like there's like chocolate pies with like marshmallow in the center? You know what I'm
Choco
talking
pie.
about? Yeah, like chocolate pie. Yeah, like that was like definitely like a childhood snack that like I really loved. And then wait, apart from like food, what else was what was the question aside from food?
It was like Asian. Do you have like a favorite street food? How about that?
Oh yeah, like street food. I think I will always. I mean, I wrote about this in the Time It's Real, but like I will always love like the tanghulu, and I feel like it's such a classic. And I do really like my favorite is like the strawberry ones because I feel like the classic one, like the original, it's like it's really good, but again, like it can be sour. So like I feel like the strawberry is like perfect, and it's also just like it's like so pretty, you know, like yeah, love it.
When you like bite it and then the crunch, it's like so
so good. Like they recently like opened up just like this like little like tanghulu store at like a mall near to me. So like whenever I'm like shopping there, I'll just like buy it for myself. Yeah. It's, like and it tastes like really good. I'm like this is it. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
So good. When I read that scene when it was like in the book, I was like, oh, now I'm craving it, but it's not within my vicinity.
That was me with the jianbing. I was like,
oh my god, yeah.
Find a jianbing in like Texas.
My mom like makes jianbing like herself, so whenever she makes it, I'm like super excited. I'm like I have to eat it. But yeah, the ones that they serve like on the street in Beijing, like those like they really hit different. Like whatever it is that they do, like they have like the giant like setup and like you know and like they're just like swirling it around or something. But yeah, like it is really good.
Now I'm hungry. It's okay. Okay. This next question, Tiffany was very adamant about, but it is: would you rather be an idol or an actor? And I told her that idols are also sometimes actors, but
I know, but it's like different, you know. Like, okay, I think people have fans.
I get what you mean. And actually, like, it's kind of ridiculous how much thought I've given this, like, as if this is, like, a very, like, serious, like, career crossroads that I faced. Like, I would just, like, think about this randomly in the shower. Like, I feel like, okay, so the short answer is, like, actor, definitely. And I feel like it's because I think there's some parallels between, like, being an actor and being a writer. Like, you know, it's about, like, you have to put yourself into like someone else's like life. You have to think about, you know, like how would they act, like what would they say, like their body language, like things like that. And I actually know some writers who I think they take like acting classes, and it's almost like method acting, and it helps them to like identify, like, you know, like how would this character be like moving around on the page, and like what would they do, and like what are some like details that like you could include about like, you know, like their gestures and things like that. So I also just think like, you know, being an actor is you're working on like a longer kind of like project. It's like you're telling like a story, right? And so like in that sense, it's also closer to acting. I mean, to acting closer to writing. So, and obviously like I enjoy writing. So I'm like, that's something that I would enjoy. With like an idol, again, like I don't know why I've given this so much thought, but I was like, okay, see, if you're an idol, like you have to do a lot of like touring, right? And I feel like that gets like really exhausting. Like I'm sure like it's fun, but you're like traveling around so much, and you're like on the plane constantly, and you have like jet lag and things like that. And if you're like a solo artist, I feel like it gets really lonely. Like, you know, like you're like going to all these events, like you're performing, like there's so much pressure. Whereas like, yeah, like when you're an actor, like you kind of have like cast members. If you're an idol, like I mean obviously like you have groups, but then I feel like that's like a different kind of pressure where you don't want to let like your other like the other like team members down, right? And also like people will like compare you to them, and it's just like this like weird thing. And like, what if you don't get along with them, but you're like stuck with them to like do these like promotional activities? And I feel like idols are also like, you know, sometimes they're like put on a pedestal more, like there's like all like this like attention around it, like even with like their dating lives, because like you're kind of like selling this image of like this like polished version of yourself, and like you have to kind of be like available. Whereas I feel like if you're an actor and you have really good chemistry with like a co-actor, like people will actually like genuinely like really like root for you guys to like meet together. Like I feel like there's like some like space there because like you're not like acting as like yourself. And I think it's also like, I know this is like such like a long, like in-depth answer.
No, I'm here for it.
I think it's also like when you're an idol, like you're like when you're seeing you're performing on stage, it's very like in the moment. Like you can do like rehearsals like to prepare, but it's like what people will see, like what's like spread around online is like how you're like how your performance is, like if you missed a note or whatever, and like once that happens, like you can't take it back. If you're an actor, like you get to do multiple takes, and it's like you get to like, you know, like you get to go back and like edit it. And I feel like it's kind of like, would you prefer like a test or like an essay assignment, like something that's like you revise for it, you get it over and done with, or something that it's like you can just like you have to work on it like every day for like a long period of time, but you can like edit at it. And I've always been like an assignment person. So yeah, that concludes like my very long speech.
We're here for it.
I would never go down.
No, I'm here for it. And also it helps like gives me justification, because Sandra was like, this is a dumb question. Let's not explain it. Like, no, it's a good question. But also you're so right, because I like, how many K-pop edits have I seen where like someone misses a high note and then people just edit it from like all the different angles and then add like "What Will Go On" by Celine Dion in the background.
Oh my gosh.
So true.
Okay. Another fun question. If your life were a trope, which trope would it be? Or if you could make your life a trope, what would you want it to be?
Okay, those are two very different questions, because if I could like choose, I mean, I would obviously choose like a romance trope for myself, and I would choose something that like isn't possible already. So it would have to be one of those like very like slow burn, like childhood friends, like someone like, you know, like I just know someone already who's just like the perfect like love interest, and then like we can like get together like when I'm like in my 20s. So like yeah, in hindsight, like that would be nice, and combine that with like the billionaire trope, because why not, so that I have like financial
No.
But like if like it's my actual life, I feel like, oh, I will say like academic rivals to lovers is like not something that like I could do, because like I've been like, I know I've been writing that, but like I feel like I couldn't do that in real life, because it like, because you know, because I've had like academic rivals, but like I would just be annoyed because I was like, you're like competing, like stop competing, like I just want my grade. So yeah, in real life, I feel like that wouldn't work out as well. Realistically, I think also, I guess like the closest would be kind of like the secret identity trope, because like for a period where like, so like I have this like day job, right? And like, so I started working at the company, and like this was like my first job out of uni. And so like on my resume, I've heard that sometimes like in employers, like they're a bit like iffy about you being like an author, because I think they're scared that you'll just get rich and leave one day. So basically, so like I wrote that I was like a long form content creator, which is technically true. And in interviews, they'll be like, wow, like how long is the content? I'm like, oh, like hundreds of pages. Like you have no idea. So I was just like, yeah, like I create content. And then so like my boss had like no idea for like the first few months, and I was just like working there. I was just like, you know, like writing away for the company. And then like eventually at some point she was like, wait, so like what do you actually like do? Like sometimes like you talk about writing, like what, like are you with like a publisher or something? And I was like, yeah, I'm an author, and she was like really supportive about it, so it's been really nice. But like, yeah, so there was like a period of time when it really just felt like I was like leading like a double life, because like no one I worked with like had any idea that I was like writing my books and like doing promotion. And then I would have to like find a way, because like obviously I'm like promoting my books on my Instagram, and so I was like trying to make sure that like they didn't find my socials and like things like that. But yeah, so that was a interesting period of my life.
I'm so dead. That was so funny.
Seriously? I did not know that thing about authors, but I find it so funny how it's like, I'm gonna hide the fact that I'm an author and instead say that I'm a content creator.
I'd rather say I'm an author.
Literally. I'm like, what? That's a real job? As a content creator? That's a real job?
It just sounded legit. I was like, yeah, sure. This is like a very like corporate thing. Like, I'm sure I'll seem super professional.
That's so funny. Okay. We got a question in the comments asking about sequel possibilities for This Time It's Real. So
I mean, no. I mean, well, I don't want to like flat out no, but I mean, it's like, let's just say like it's very unlikely, because I just feel like there are like everything, like, I feel like it's like ended. I've left them at the place where I feel like they ought to be. So yeah, I'm sorry. I really, I'm like, I never wanted, I never want to like write a sequel, like for the sake of like writing a sequel, you know what I mean? So, but who knows? Like, I remember I was like doing, like for like my like launch event for If You Could See the Sun, I was like chatting with like Chloe, right? And I remember one of the questions was like, oh, like, is there going to be like a spin-off or like a sequel for If You Could See the Sun? And I was like, no, like, I don't think so. That's never going to happen. And then like, basically like 2 weeks after that event, I was like, oh my God, I have this idea for like a spin-off following Chanel. And like, I messaged my agent, and like, and so now that's like a book. So like, don't trust me entirely when I say like, I'm never going to do something, but I can't say that like, I genuinely, at least in believe that like that's super unlikely.
I can see it. It's okay though. I'll come to terms with it.
Yeah, it's okay. I guess this means that people need to be writing fan fiction for and then we could be consuming the fluff in the form of fan fiction, which is fine. It's fine.
So you mentioned that you have this other book following Chanel, which is like the spin-off of If You Could See the Sun. Is there anything else that you're working on that maybe we can anticipate?
Ooh, so
that's like put more work on your plate.
I have 3 books coming out next year, which is like, yeah, it's like bizarre. Like, really glad that like my publisher, like my agent has been so lovely, like trying to like coordinate everything, because it's literally like a book coming out like every 4 months or something. So I have an Academic Rivals to Lovers rom-com that's coming out February. And that's like, we recently like revealed the cover. That's like, I hope this doesn't find you. And like pitching it as like to all the boys if Lara Jane wrote hate emails instead of love letters. I was like joking about it when I was like describing that to my agent, and I can't believe that like that's now like the official pitch. But like, I mean, yeah, I think it's like pretty accurate. So yeah, so that's coming out first, and then we have I'm Not Jessica Chan, which is like a dark academia book, and that will be released in around like summer. And then we've also got like a historical. So I did get to write my historical C-drama after all, and it's called The Song to Drown Rivers. And that's going to be like, it's technically like adult, but I feel like young adult readers would definitely still be able to like read it. It's kind of like in a like in between place. And so that should be coming out like at the end of the year and like around fall. So yeah, and the books get like kind of progressively sadder and angstier. So I'm like kind of like setting you up for like a slow descent into darkness. First, we're like hitting the ground with like the rom-com, and then it kind of But you'll.
I'm so excited. But girl, do you sleep?
No,
I'm so excited for myself and like all of us. But you good?
No, I've had people like genuinely kind of like concerned, like, are you sleeping? And I'm like, so like my principle is like, no matter how busy I am, like I will never sacrifice sleep. So like, don't worry. I'm like getting my 8 hours. Like I would do that. Like it does get busy. Like I think right now I'm like at the stage where I am like experiencing like the consequences of my actions, because I basically got 3 deadlines within like the same month. And so I'm trying, like developmental edits for 2 books and like a full draft for something else. So it's like, it's been busy, but like it's okay. like I'm working with it. It's cool.
I am really commending you, because I'm thinking about the fact that you have a day job and doing this and somehow still sleeping and eating and like, doing these kind of events. I'm like, wow, if I could do it, anything's possible. Anything's possible. I could do it. She's out here being like Beyonce. We all have the same 24 hours. Okay.
Meanwhile, taking a day nap.
Oh my God, no. Literally, stop calling me out.
Day naps are so valid.
Yeah.
You need to like replenish yourself like halfway throughout the day. Like I support that.
Thank you. Okay. So we are nearing the end of this fabulous interview. Honestly, I could like just chat forever because it's so fun. But what do you hope for readers to get out of your stories? And do you have any like last messages you want to send to the book club?
I feel like whatever you take away, like I will be happy with, unless it's something like I should do crime, because like maybe don't do that. Like I hope that's not the message from like If You Could See the Sun. But yeah, I feel like it always just like it makes me really happy when like like readers like they see themselves like in my characters, or that like like I really relate to like this like insecurity or like this struggle, or like when they feel like less alone. Like I always feel like that's like one of the best things about books is you really just get to like connect with people through like the experiences of like these characters. So yeah, I feel like for This Time It's Real in particular, I think a lot of it is about like letting yourself like be hopeful. So I feel like that's like like one of the messages. Like it's okay, like even if you're like like a self-proclaimed like cynic, like it's okay, like you can like believe in love, like you can you can like hope for like nice like happy things that happen to you. And just like in general, like I guess I just really want to say like thank you to everyone who's been like so sweet and like so supportive. Like in a way, like I can't believe that like If You Could See the Sun came out in October last year, so it hasn't even like been that long. Like it's not even been like a full year, but I just feel like like so much has happened, and like I've gotten like so many like encouraging messages and everything. And so like in a way, like being an author is like like exactly what I thought it would be, like in that sense of like everyone being like just like so lovely. Also, I just want to say, because like I just remembered like, so before I even had an agent, when I was just like an aspiring writer, I would like watch your channel, and like I would like watch your interviews with other authors, and I was like, oh my God, like it would be so cool if I could like be like them when I grow up. Like seriously, it was like one of my favorite like book channels. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh my God, you're so sweet. Literally, I read this book back in like when it came out. I think it was like over the summer, right? Like I read it not summer,
just like a few months
over
back.
Like a couple months back. Like I read it and I loved it, and then I told Alexandra to read it, and then she read it, and then she loved it, and we're like, what are the odds we can get Ann like on the show? She's like, I don't know, man. And we're like, okay, send the email. And then I'll be like, it's been a day, she hasn't replied.
happy when I got the email. I was like, yes, like no matter what I have on my schedule, I'm gonna clear. Like I'm definitely gonna go.
Oh,
Crying.
well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everyone who's joining us. Like, we love this book so much, and we cannot wait to read more of your books next year. We are truly blessed, and we just are so excited for your author journey and are here to support you 100%. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. We hope you enjoyed This Time It's Real. This month, July, we are reading This Is How You Lose the Time War, and our live show is going to be happening in 2 weeks, so we'll share more information about that soon. Thank you.
Yay, thank you. Bye.